Hello everyone, welcome to my history of New Zealand. New Zealand is kind of an anomaly in terms of human inhabitation. Let me explain. New Zealand remained empty and uninhabited by humans until around 1200, believe it or not. That was when the Mori, it's not Maori, it's Mori, which is how I'm going to pronounce it. The Mori discovered and became the first people to permanently live on New Zealand. That is where my history of New Zealand begins. The Mori called this land with 12-foot-tall bird monsters called moas, which they hunted to extinction, Aotearoa. Today, New Zealand is officially called New Zealand and sometimes Aotearoa, the Mori word. The North Island was called Te Igamaui and the South Island, Te Wavunamu. In 1642, after 400 years of isolation, the Maori met their first outsiders, the Dutch, led by the famous Abel Tasman. While here, he named it what now translates in English as New Zealand. He called it New Zealand, which is today a province in the Netherlands. The next visitor in New Zealand was that overachiever British explorer James Cook. He forced the Maori chiefs to sign the Treaty of Waitangi. By forced, I mean he literally went on tour of the country telling 700 chiefs to sign it. It was signed on February 6, 1846, which is coincidentally New Zealand's National Day. This treaty caused the Maori to give up their lands, but the Maori were going to put up a fight. What was the result of this treaty? A war between the Mori and English, that is. This war is known as the New Zealand Wars. Around 2,000 Mori natives were killed in it. It was an English victory and guaranteed that the Mori would lose all their land. In 1861, the New Zealand Gold Rush, or Otapu Gold Rush, began, centered at the city of Dunedin. Around 1,000 ounces of gold was found. That is minuscule compared to the Brazilian gold rush from yesterday, if you were paying attention or if you watched that video yesterday. Which if you didn't, go check it out. Plus, I'm going to have a history video out tomorrow. Watch till the end of this video to find out what it is. In 1893, New Zealand became the world's first country to allow women to vote. This was very controversial for the time, and at the time it was completely unheard of or unthought that this would ever happen. The idea of this happening was completely off the table for countries at the time, but not for New Zealand. That was an important step for countries, and this later inspired countries to give women the vote. A large movement later started in the United States. In 1907, New Zealand turned down Australia's offer to join their country as another state. They would never do that, Australia. I hate to break it to you, but they never would. Instead, New Zealand became its own country, New Zealand. During World War I, aka the Great War, New Zealand and Australia fought together, most notably in what's now Turkey. Together, they fought under what's called ANZAC, or the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. This shows the deep relationship the two have, as much as they like pickering on each other today. In 1949, New Zealand's first government was elected. That's all I have for this event, sorry. On May 29, 1953, history was made when New Zealand native Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, a Nepali Sherpa, became the first two people to set foot on the summit of Mount Everest. This made him a hero for New Zealand. In 1987, New Zealand made a bold step to make the almost extinct language, Mori, a national language. As a result, after nearly 20 years of teaching it in schools, alongside English with the weird accent that they claim not to have with Australia, 125,000 people now speak it today. On March 15th, 2019, it was a normal day for people praying at two mosques, Al-Nur and the Christchurch Islamic Center. Suddenly, a gunman barged in and began opening fire on those worshipping. 51 people died and 40 people were injured. The Australian gunman, Brenton Tarrant, reportedly walked up to a dad and his son, who was clenching his leg, looked at the son, and then shot him in the head 7 times. This is now known as the Christchurch bombings. The only bit of good news which recently happened was that the gunman, Brenton Tarrant, was recently sentenced to life in prison. Many have called for his execution, but it looks like he's going to be sitting in jail for the rest of his life after committing this act of terrorism. Here on my history channel, I don't sugarcoat history videos, and if there's something I have to mention, whether it's grim or not grim, I'm going to mention it. So I'm sorry if you thought that was a little grim, but it's an important part of New Zealand history, so I'm not skipping this. Oh man, that was really dark. And most recently, as of writing this and recording this, New Zealand is currently experiencing their hottest winter ever. That's 21.1 degrees Celsius, or 77.18 degrees Fahrenheit, sound like a nice winter temperature. And with that is my history of New Zealand. I know it wasn't as long, and I know it might sound surprising that I had to start in the 1200s and not like 200 BCE or something, but that's the case with New Zealand. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and a little side note. I'm sorry guys, but I can't take requests for the rest of September. I'm currently working on 6 history videos. I think that's a little bit too much for me. I'm currently overworking myself as it is, so no requests until at least October. So yeah, thank you for watching. Anyways, coming up next will be released tomorrow. California is coming up next. I know it's not a country, but tomorrow's the anniversary of the state's founding, so I hope you like it. And anyways, enjoy your day. Thank you for watching.